everyone. Today I'm going to be reading some books for children. I have a couple in English and a couple in Spanish that I'll be doing in another video. So I have two books for you today. The first one is called Brown Rabbit in the City, and it is by Natalie, Russel. And the other book I'm going to be reading is called The Dreamkeeper by Robert Jnepen. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. That's what that looks like. So let's get started with Brown Rabbit in the City. Let's just open that up. Natalie Russel, Brown Rabbit in the City. Brown Rabbit stood waiting beside the bus stop at the park. He was going to the city to see his friend, and he was very excited. Brown Rabbit had never been to the city before. He listened quietly to the birds and smiled as the cool breeze tickled his ears. It will be nice to see Little Rabbit, he thought. When the bus arrived, Brown Rabbit hopped on board and went upstairs for the best view. Then he counted the stops until there she was, waiting for him right where she had said she would be. "These flowers are for you," said Brown Rabbit, and Little Rabbit smiled. Then Little Rabbit took Brown Rabbit to her favorite cafe. She was so excited. There was so much she wanted him to see. Before Brown Rabbit could finish his cake, Little Rabbit said, "Let's go. There's not much time," and she whisked him away. Up a tall building, smile at the camera. Down a crowded street, watch your step. Around an art gallery, no, don't touch. And underground to catch a train, here it comes. Everything in the city moved so fast. Including Little Rabbit. They went across busy streets and in and out of many shops. Hats, bags, bangles, and scarves. Little Rabbit wanted to try them all. Brown Rabbit stopped to catch his breath and brush the dust from his ears. "Hurry up," called Little Rabbit. Then Brown Rabbit saw a beautiful guitar. It made him think of his old guitar, which he'd once played for Little Rabbit while she danced in the park. He turned to Little Rabbit. He wanted her to see. But she was busy buying Brown Rabbit a big bow tie. "Just perfect for the party," she said. Brown Rabbit sighed. He was too tired for a party. At the party, Brown Rabbit watched as Little Rabbit danced. He couldn't join in. His feet were too sore from all the rushing around. So Brown Rabbit sat by himself and waited and waited. After a while, when Little Rabbit went to find him, Brown Rabbit was gone. Little Rabbit searched the room. She searched the street. She looked everywhere, but it was no use. Why did Brown Rabbit leave, she wondered. Then she thought about how busy they had been, and suddenly she knew what was wrong. I hardly spoke to him all day, she sighed. I said there was no time, and now I've upset my best friend. Feeling sad, Little Rabbit walked slowly home. But as she passed her favorite cafe, she saw something that made her stop. It was Brown Rabbit. He was sitting in the cafe, eating a slice of carrot cake. Little Rabbit rushed inside. I'm so sorry, she sniffed. I just wanted you to see the city. Brown Rabbit stood up and wiped away her tears. But I came to see you, not the city, he replied, and Little Rabbit smiled. The next afternoon, the two rabbits strolled slowly through the city. I have a surprise for you, said Little Rabbit, and she led him down a quiet street, through an old gate, and into a beautiful garden. It's just like home, thought Brown Rabbit, and there on a bench was a present from Little Rabbit. It was perfect. The sun set over the city. Brown Rabbit played his new guitar, and Little Rabbit danced. Brown Rabbit's bus came and went, but Brown Rabbit didn't mind. After all, they had all the time in the world. The end. Did you like that one? I thought it was cute. I spent some time looking for them. So, the next one is called The Dreamkeeper. And this one's a bit longer. And there's a lot of interesting pictures. So let's get started. The Dreamkeeper. Dear Alice, this is a story about a man who collects dreams and keeps them safe. He is called the Dreamkeeper. Nobody I know has ever seen him. We can only imagine what he looks like, although we do know a few things about him. We know he wears strange clothes, which belong to earlier times, so he is probably quite old. He has charms and lures, all sewn or pinned or tied to his coat. In his pockets he keeps sweets and sours and pieces of paper with messages on them. Over his shoulder he carries a long bamboo pole with strange markings, which he uses to carry cages and traps that he needs for collecting the dream creatures he finds. Sometimes he plays the bamboo pole as a flute, and on his head he always wears an old stovepipe hat. Many people believe that it's the Dreamkeeper who catches our bad dreams when they try to escape to become real. He is the one who knows the tricks needed to lure, catch, and return the bad dream creatures to the safety of the great dream tree. The Dreamkeeper designs and weaves all his own cages and baskets, and each one is able to carry a particular creature, like a witch, a troll, or a goblin, or even a very small dragon. Dragons are difficult to catch. They are larger than almost any creature you can dream about, and more dangerous. When he catches dragons, the Dreamkeeper quickly shrinks them with a mild reducing potion made from the juice of houseflies. Once this is done, they can be carried in a sling, since they are often still too big for baskets. Witches are also quite hard to catch. With the help of an ancient recipe, the Dreamkeeper prepares a powerful cocktail of bad-smelling herbs to make his job easier. With each full moon, some witches try to sneak away from the coven to make mischief in reality. To stop them, the Dreamkeeper sets up an elderwood tripod on the route usually taken by loose witches. A dish is balanced on the tripod, and the herb mixture is lit and allowed to burn. The fumes will turn any witch into a raven for a short time, and ravens are easy to catch. The recipe for the witch herb brew was invented by the Dreamkeeper's sister. She lives and works far away in an old pigeon house on stilts somewhere in the south of France. She works in her kitchen laboratory to keep her brother supplied with dream-catching aids like magic sweets and sours, and of course her famous potion of belief syrup. For centuries, pigeons have lived in pigeon houses, and they still do. People think they are kept there to be hunted or to make droppings in order to fertilize the surrounding vineyards, but they really carry messages for the College of Great Belief, which has its offices in this building. The president of the college is the Dreamkeeper, and when he is not traveling, he lives there with his sister and a useful goblin called Natalie. There are many pigeon houses in rural France, particularly in the south, and nobody knows exactly which is the one where the college operates. Perhaps the offices move from one to another so that we humans remain confused. The College of Great Belief operates for the well-being of storybook characters, and sometimes for real people who appear in stories. Although we do not know who is on the council of the college, We do know that Tally is the council secretary. He runs the day-to-day affairs of the college when he is not out dream-catching with his master. Inside the pigeon house, Tally has a small room with a bed for sleeping, a box for keeping, and a desk for recording and reporting. The room has 2 doors, one that leads to the kitchen, where belief syrup and other magic potions are made, and another that leads to the library and meeting chamber, where the Dreamkeeper bunks down when he needs to sleep. A small window high in the room leads to the wider world outside. Until recently, people believed that the Dreamkeeper worked alone and had no helpers. This is not so. Tally is with him at all times, unless he is contracted to do special projects for other council members. He keeps a tally of all the Dreamkeeper's tricks, captures, and conquests. He has a memory as long as his white beard, which he has to tuck into his belt to stop tripping over himself. Once he used to carry a sword to cut up his food and defend himself, but now he makes do with his ingenious, belief-powered remote control. Goblins, elves, imps, gnomes, and trolls are members of a family generally devoted to interrupting peaceful dreams. They regularly escape the safety of the great dream tree to upset the peace and quiet of humans. For example, they can make themselves invisible to most boys and girls, and certainly to all grown-ups. The Dreamkeeper uses Tally, a tamed goblin, to make sure you will only imagine that you can see them. With a specially designed remote control, Tally can expose the presence of any tricky goblin or hairy troll. Once they are no longer invisible, it is easy for the Dreamkeeper to lure them into his basket with colorful licorice devised by his clever sister. Under the protection of the many branches of the great dream tree, good and evil spirits dwell in harmony with the creatures of dreams. The Dreamkeeper knows that spirits, like ghosts, have a shape but no body, and that only bad spirits cast shadows. The scary shadows you see on the wall or ceiling at night often mark the presence of an escaped bad spirit up to no good. The Dreamkeeper has memorized the right words and songs to persuade these spirits to behave themselves and return. When he speaks his voice, it is as soft as moss, and his words as gentle as a falling feather. He plays beautiful music on his long bamboo flute to lure and seduce runaway spirits back to the fabulous great dream tree. Now, Alice, I expect you have been waiting to hear how the Dreamkeeper catches and carries the fairies. Well, I have a surprise for you. He doesn't. He couldn't, even if he wanted to, because the fairies, like shadows, cannot be caught. They are free to come and go whenever, however, and wherever they like, forever. You see, the fairies do not live within the branches and roots of the great dream tree. They dwell inside hollow hills or great mounds of earth built by prehistoric tribes, either as forts or monuments to past heroes. Humans are advised to avoid these places, especially after dark. However, like most dream creatures, the fairies must come to the great dream tree to die. That is probably why you never find fairy rings in the garden. The end. That one ends abruptly. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sleep well.